There we go. So we're going to start tonight with Kate. Kate, what are you making for us?
I am making, well, first up, I'm going to show everybody the new high heat. I'm going to caramelize some onions because the TM6 can now go to 160 degrees, which is very, very exciting, which brings that beautiful flavors, those beautiful caramelization and browning flavors into your meals, which I thought was a little bit lacking in the other models of the Thermomix. There's quite a few new owners on screen tonight, so I just wanted to make sure that everybody knows that you can access Cookadoo directly on your screen by swiping one way. When you turn on your Thermomix, you have your time, temperature, and speed. With the reverse button is that little blades button. If you press that, it will go to reverse. And you've also got all your modes, which we'll talk about shortly. If you ever see 3 little lines or 3 little dots, it means there's more menus. So I've actually menu planned what we're cooking tonight. So I've just pressed those 3 little lines and I'm going to go into my week and you'll find all the recipes there. Later on, Jenny will go through Cookadoo and how you can menu plan. So now at the moment, we're going to go straight into caramelizing some onions. So there is a little bit different, especially if we have some upgraders here. Actually, let me go through the screen. Every single picture is exactly the same on the Thermomix. You have a gorgeous picture. This one says caramelized onions. It will tell you that it's easy. It's only 15 minutes prep time and it's a serving of 1 portion. You can do 400 to 600 grams of onions in this one. The recipes on every single recipe, you will have the ingredients on one side, the preparation steps on the other side, and they are live steps. So if I wanted to, I could go press on straight to step 2 and it will take me to that part of the recipe. You don't need to go next. It'll also tell me what utensils I need for the recipe, and this one I just need the spatula and any hints and tips. And also, if it's important to you, nutritional information, and usually at the bottom it just tells you what collection or cookbook that it is from. So we'll just go start cooking. As you can see directly on the screen, the scales pop up automatically. Now, because I've got my lid on, I'm going to take that off and you'll see it's gone into the negative. So you just have to press tear. And it's asking for 20 grams of olive oil. This Thermomix goes up, the scales go up in 1 gram, so it's perfect for bakers. I love these scales. You do have to be a little bit careful though. When you're moving it, you need to lift it, unless you get the glide board, which I'm sure Jenny will tell us all about later on. Okay, so that's weighed it for me, and then it's saying 400, actually it's 400 to 500, I said 600 before. Now the difference is when you're chopping your onions, you want to chop them in wedges, like this. You want your Thermomix to be able to, because we're caramelizing it, you want the blades to be able to grab it and turn it. So it just says cut it into 4 wedges. And if you cry when you cut onions, just keep the cut side, when you cut it in half, cut it on the board, just hold it and then cut the wedges, and then you won't be a tears.
I have to share, there's a really fantastic tip to not crying when you're cutting onions.
What's that?
Don't form an emotional attachment.
Oh
my God.
Oh God.
There you go. All right. I'll go back. Thanks, Ashley. I appreciate that. Thanks for joining me.
I thought real tip, Jenny. I heard that if you sing when you cut your onions, you won't cry.
I thought you were going to say you have to wear those funny goggle things.
Or you could do that. Apparently, if you sing, because it's when you breathe through your nose is when you cry. But anyway, we're here to talk about Thermomixes. Usually you don't have to chop your onions when you've got a Thermomix. Now, this one is asking for the splash guard, which is a new little thing in your kit when you get your TM6. And this one is, because when it goes up to high heat, we want to protect ourselves. This little splash guard will get locked in with those locking arms and protect you from any splashes, but you do have to do a little extra step and just go done. And then as you can see, for 26 minutes on max, it's going to go to 160 degrees, and these little sizzle lines is the high heat. So all you need to do is spin the dial and it will start. You might hear the sizzle coming shortly. And by caramelizing the onions, you're just bringing out all that natural sweetness and flavour. And you'll see later on, after the 26 minutes, I might just need to deglaze the bowl a little bit by adding a bit of water and then just getting my spatula and getting all those yummy caramelization flavours into the dish and not stuck to the bottom of the bowl. But this is a huge game changer, especially if you are a recent upgrader from the other models, because you'll notice the flavour, it's really changed when you use the high heat. There is also a collection, a browning collection, so there's lots of different vegetables and meats that you can use, so you can jump into the browning recipe and then out into another one if it doesn't include the high heat. Can you hear the sizzle yet?
So a little crackle then, but it's not quite, it'll pick up, no doubt.
Yeah, I can certainly hear it's already sizzling, so it's already got to temperature. And soon you'll see some little smoke and things come out. But this is just me for 26 minutes.
Yeah, awesome. What else would you be doing normally, right? You can run around and do other things. You can hear the blades stopping and starting, which is a really cool feature of the TM6 as well, right? Okay, so while Kate is cooking her onions, and you can sit back and have, I don't know, a glass of wine now, we're going to move over. Yeah, you're welcome. We're going to move over to Victoria, who is going to show us, we're going to start off with making some whipped cream. Is that right?
Yeah, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently. I'm going rogue.
Oh, that
Sorry,
doesn't
Jenny.
sound like you.
I know. Literally, normally I am a recipe follower because when I first got my Thermomix, I did not know how to cook. In fact, I should show you my little cookbook where my husband taught me what I needed to do to actually cook a meal. So the Thermomix has taught me how to cook, and in fact, being a consultant has taught me even so much more. I use my machine a lot more than what I would have if I hadn't have become a consultant. So, and now look at me, I'm teaching you guys. So without further ado, I'm going to tell you how I make butter, which in fact there is a recipe that you can use, and that's available on CookieDoo. As Kate showed you, just have to simply swipe towards the speed selector. But I'm actually going to cook manually, which you still can do in your TM6. So I'm so lucky to be having a play with the black limited edition TM6 tonight, which is pretty cool. So what I'm going to do is just activate my scales. So simply by swiping the other direction, I get access to all those amazing modes, which we can go through in a little while. But I'm going to, for the moment, just activate my scales. And as Kate mentioned, they are now in increments of 1. So I'm just pouring in some whipping cream. When you're making a butter, which we will do in a second, it's really important that the cream comes straight out of the fridge and is really cold, because it's a lot easier to work with. So I'm just going to weigh in. You can do up to 600 grams is a good amount. But I'll probably do about 5. And then, I did some earlier, and I just to see how much buttermilk I got compared to butter. So it was about half and half. And then I'm going to, so for about 500 grams of cream, I got about 250 of each butter and buttermilk. Now I'm going to add in the butterfly whisk, which is the only attachment that comes with the Thermomix. And that simply just needs to go pop on the top. I might show you actually how I pop that on, because I have a little trick. I'm not sure if anybody else does. I'll put it on this camera here. So I find the high blade, the one that sort of goes up, and then I just pop that to the left of the high blade. And then I've got a little song to remember it. To the left, to the left. Not that I'm a singer, but just to the left of the high blade, and just knock it to the left, and that locks it in place. So then if you're making, it doesn't matter for cream and that sort of thing, but if you're making like a risotto or a fruity dream where there's lots of contents in your bowl, it does prevent that butterfly from coming off. So I will just pop that on, and then simply pop your lid on. And all I do is just spin it to speed 4, which is the highest speed that you can use with your butterfly whisk. And I just wait until I hear the change in the sound, which I really just use my ears to work out when it's turned into butter. But I'm going to stop it so I can show you what the whipped cream looks like. When you are making butter, depending on how, I guess the time that it takes will depend on how old your cream is. So for really fresh cream, it can take a little bit longer. But if you've got a really old cream, it's a lot quicker. And if you ever see any cream that's on sale because it's nearly out of date, grab it, because you can freeze it or you can make butter. So that's taken about 40 seconds to whip my cream. So that's the first stage. I'm going to show you a couple of stages. So you really have to, because it depends on how old your cream is. You just have to do it by sight and hear rather than a set time. But that's your whipped cream. And then I'll show you just before it turns to butter, if I can. So it really thickens.
This one's a fine line to grab.
Yeah.
It's a very quick turnaround.
It is. So it's really, really just about to hit the butter stage now. So it's really thick. And then all of a sudden, you will hear it separate and you'll hear the buttermilk swishing around. And that's when you know that you've turned your butter into your cream into butter. So
it should almost be a bit of a thudding sound, hey? So it should almost, well, sometimes you can see your Thermomix even do a little slight dance, let you know that it's there.
If you watch it, it'll be about 10 seconds now. It's just turning. And you've just got to keep going until you can hear it really swishing around, which it's.
So we can't hear it because the fantastic Zoom mute down that background noise. I have found that if we watch, we should start to see it shake a little bit. Can you guys see that's wobbling a little bit?
It's ready.
Beautiful. So that's what you're wanting. And I think sometimes the reason why doing it manual is so fantastic with what Vic's showing us tonight is once you start to get cooking and get confident with your Thermomix, listening and starting to get to know how long things take till they're ready can really make a great difference. Look at the color change in that. That looks amazing.
Isn't it? It's like magic.
Yeah. And how easy was that? I'd love to know in the comments, have you guys made butter before? If you haven't, are you going to give it a go now? Seeing how quick that was?
So
awesome.
And I'm going to do now.
With your whipped cream, the traditional ways of whipping cream, it usually takes a fair bit longer, but the power of the blades for the Thermomix means this is a very quick transition. So, yes, garlic butter, nice. There's so many good flavor combinations. You know what's good? Actually, we made it not too long ago, cinnamon butter. So a bit of cinnamon and sugar in your butter and having that on top of pancakes and waffles, amazing.
Yum. So I've actually just taken the butterfly whisk out and used my simmering basket just to pop on the top so that I can tip out that buttermilk, because you don't want to waste that. That is like gold. And I have worked out it is quite a bit cheaper if you are buying buttermilk to be able to make your own butter and buttermilk, because the way that I bought it, it's I think it's about $6 for that large 1 litre. Now I'm going to get as much buttermilk as I can off, so just mix it for a couple more seconds, and then I used my little baby thermoserver.
Yeah,
did you like that?
They?
They're available in the mix shop, but this was actually one that I earned. I'm holding you'll notice I'm holding the bowl at the bottom of the handle. That's just a little bit more ergonomic than holding it like that. So that's removed all of my buttermilk. So I'm going to reserve that for now. And so now I'm just going to wash my butter. So the reason why I do that is because it's the buttermilk that makes your butter go a bit yucky and old and off. So if we wash all that buttermilk off, again, using really cold water, just makes it easier to work with. You can remove your butterfly, but I've actually kept mine in, and I kind of get a tiny, like a whipped butter. So what I do is just wash it now, just on speed 4. That cold water is washing that butter. And then some people actually keep this first wash, and you can use that as a buttermilk as well.
It's actually really good if your recipe calls, like if it's already got buttermilk and it calls for water, to use that second wash. It doesn't quite have the flavour and the, I'm trying to think, the substance of what your milk will, so it won't replace your milk, but it's good for your water in there. What Vic's also doing, so while she's straining that one, if you've got your butter, if you've made butter and you don't actually have a recipe to use your buttermilk straight away, one of my favourite things to do is actually pour that buttermilk back into the same container that you got your whipped cream from, because that's going to have the expiry date, and your buttermilk will expire at the same date that cream does. So it's easy to chuck it in the freezer. Yeah, awesome.
So I just wash it a couple of times. If you want your butter to last a lot longer, just make sure that you're washing it until the water is really clear, or like, yeah, not milky anymore. So that's almost there with the second rinse.
Beautiful.
Maybe can I go on to that one? No,
yeah,
I'm going to get water all over my camera, but yeah.
No,
so I won't. No, I won't show you. I'd probably wash it one more time if I was, doing this for my own purposes. But then I actually try and get as much water as I can out, and then I just whip it again one more time to get the rest of the water out. Otherwise, you can squeeze the water out of it as well. And then that's your butter done.
So if you were going to bake with that straight away and use it straight away, probably the one wash would be more than enough. But
yeah.
Oh, check that out. That looks amazing. Have you had a go at making spreadable butter as well, Vic?
Yeah, you can just add a little bit of olive oil to it, or you can salt it as well if you wanted to preserve the life of it for a bit longer. But here's my beautiful butter.
Oh, look
just
at that.
Squeeze that water out just to show you. Is that good?
Yeah, that looks amazing.
And then I've stored mine in a little butter bell.
How do the butter bells work? Because they help to keep it soft, don't they?
Yeah, they do actually, because it's out on the bench, and you just change the water. I've just got some cold water in here, and you just change the water, I guess, every day, just a little bit of water, and that then you can set it upside down in your butter bowl, and that's available at the mix shop as well. All right, so that's my butter done. So now we're going to move on to making our buttermilk bread. So I'm going to use that buttermilk that I've just made, and we're going to make some bread. Now I'm not going to freestyle this one. I am going to follow a recipe. So on Cookie-Doo, I'm going to actually search for buttermilk bread. So you can just type in buttermilk, and in fact, all the recipes, oops, I missed an R. Oh no, buttermilk. And then there's actually a new feature here where you can select buttermilk, and it will show you all the recipes with buttermilk in it. So I've just searched buttermilk, and that's how I'm going to be able to know what I can make with that beautiful buttermilk that I've just made. And I'm actually just going to select the buttermilk bread one right here. Actually, I'll just show you quickly. So there's star ratings. So this one's a 4.5 stars, and it's going to take me 2 hours. So I'm going to select that. Again, as Kate showed you, all the ingredients and the steps are all written on the screen of your machine. And I'm just going to say start cooking. So we need 180 grams of buttermilk. The scales have come up automatically for me. So in my calculations, I should have around 250 mils. So that's about right. And so yeah, I've just got a little bit left over there. All right, excuse me, darling. And then I'm going to go next. And it's going to ask me for 200 grams of water. So I'm just going to weigh that in.
And she's the best cook ever.
Oh, thank you, darling. All right, so I've gone a little bit over, but that's totally fine. We're then asked to put in 2 teaspoons of yeast. I just use dried yeast. You can get, it's quite economical to buy just that from your local supermarket. And I keep it in the fridge or freezer just to make sure that I know that it's nice and fresh and still active. And then we're going to pop the lid on there.
Where is the lid?
I'm just going to use this one here. There's no point in getting another one dirty. Well, it was just that I used it for the butter. And then I simply just turn that to speed 1, and that's going to warm up my water. So if you wanted to save time, because normally I am making bread first thing in the morning so that it's nice and fresh for the kids for lunch. So if I wanted to speed up the process, I could just use a warm water. And then when it gets to 37 degrees, you can actually stop your machine just by pushing the selector button in. Oh, whoopsie. And 37 degrees is the ideal temperature for the yeast to be activated. But I'll just keep that going until it reaches 37 degrees. All right, and then at this point, you can actually push the home key and you can still continue using your machine. So we can activate, we can sort of still access cookie dough. You can also access all the modes that we have available on the TM6. And then the details about the recipe are still up right at the top of the screen, so you can actually see when it gets up to 37 degrees, and you can stop the machine then. I'm just going to get these kids into bed. One second.
Absolutely love it. So this is the joy of cooking with kids and the flexibility of our business. It's actually pretty cool. So how'd you go, Vic? That was a really quick turnaround for bedtime.
Yeah. There we go, off to bed. That's yes, when your husband is works away, this is what happens. But it's great because I don't need a babysitter and I can still be sharing the joys of the Thermomix with you guys.
I love that. Ashley's just called you rock star mum. I agree, Ashley. It's actually, you know what, I have to point out, this is probably one of my favorite things about the business is the fact that we can do that at home where our families are, because that's what's important to many of us. Well, it is to me anyway. So awesome.
And then they love this bread as well. So that's the winner for them. Anyway,
they get to have the leftovers. All right.
Exactly. So now we're going to add our baker's flour. So I just get this one from Woolies or Coles. And so the reason why you need baker's flour is because it's got a higher gluten or high protein than just your standard baking flour. And it's perfect for using when you're making something with yeast in it. Usually I'm really messy, so it'll probably go everywhere, but that's no problem. All right, so we get up to 500 grams. If you do, because I added a little bit more water, I might go a little bit extra with the flour. Also, I've noticed that when you're making your own buttermilk, it is a little bit thinner than the buttermilk that you purchase from the shop. So I tend to add a little bit more flour just so that the recipe is not too sticky. And then just a teaspoon of salt. And that's your buttermilk. So only a couple of ingredients and you get the most amazing buttermilk bread. So that's just going to mix the ingredients just for a couple of seconds. And then we're going to use the kneading function. And that's one of the modes that are available on the Thermomix but because we're using guided cooking, it just simply comes up on the screen. So I just activate that by turning the speed selector, and that's going to need now for 3 minutes.
Awesome.
Oh.
So while that needs, I might just remove that, and I'll remove this spotlight as well. So what I might do is I might talk you guys through now, just for this few minutes, cookie dough. So I'd love to know, pop it in the comments, do you have cookie dough already? It'd be great for me to find out a little bit of an idea on whereabouts you guys are at, but I'm going to share my screen with you. And on that screen, you're going to see, here we go. I'll just make sure I've got my chat up so that I can follow any questions you guys might have. So Kate, can you just give me a thumbs up? Can you see that? Okay, perfect. Thanks, Rebecca. Love your cookie dough. All right, so we've seen today a little bit of a mix of manual cooking and guided cooking. And I guess one of the most fantastic things about cookie dough is the fact that it is literally thousands and thousands of recipes at your fingertips, and you can have that no-brainer access, but you've still got the same control of being able to add things in and flavor them. So you still can add your own little bit. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that with Cookie Dough 3.0. So on my screen, I have, you can see it's already introduced me. It's already said hello to me, Jenny, and it's given me the option of what I want to cook. So I can go through and type something directly in, and you can I feel a bit, you guys can see everything I've looked up recently. In fact, we were on a fantastic class recently where Kate made a deconstructed lemon tart. So you can see that I've searched for that recently. And what you can see is nothing's coming up for it because I believe it wasn't an Australian recipe. And bingo, there you go. We've found the deconstructed lemon tarts. So what you can do with this is actually really quite simple. From anywhere you can do that global search. And I could look at things like, say, oh, you can see here, I look up chicken. I've always got chicken in my fridge that needs using up, right? So I can go through and have a look, and you can see it's given me quite a few options. I might want to try something new, so I can sort it by what's newest. I might want to try something that's going to be really quick, and I'm going to be able to find things. Now, be aware, it's going to show anything that either has chicken in the ingredients or has in the tips that it's served well with chicken, for example. So I might want to go in and alter my filters, and you can do that with Cookie Dough quite easily. So I'm just having a quick look. If you've got any questions as we go, please do pop them in the comments. So the way that Cookie Dough works is it's essentially a library for all of the Thermomix guided recipes. And if you can think, anyone who owns a cookbook, you probably wouldn't cook from everything that you have in that cookbook, nor would you be able to tell you, say, oh, okay, I've got, 11,000 chicken recipes. Whereas Cookie Dough allows you to have that kind of flexibility. It also allows you to be able to access them very quickly, the ones that you like. So I'm going to show you how to do that. There are a few different things. So we can alter the filters, so I can have a look at the different categories. So you know what, I don't want a dip that goes well with chicken, but I certainly want to see what I can cook for dinner that has chicken in it. And I wouldn't mind considering pasta. I'm open to soups, but probably main dishes. And you know what, I'm okay with baking with chicken. I might want to go through and remove some ingredients, and I can pop them in there. Or I might say, do you know what, I have onion. I'm going to include onion in there. So now I could go through and alter things like how long it's going to take, how many portions I want. I might want to choose only recipes that have been rated 5 and 4 star. I could choose what version of Thermomix I want. I can also choose the accessories. So I can choose accessories that include a blade cover. I could include the blade cover and peeler, and I can go through and also add other languages or countries in there. So I'm going to show the results that I've got so far that use chicken and onion in there that fit into the categories. It's pretty cool because I can now go through from there and select something. Oh my God, how cool is a pineapple as a bowl? So I might want to go from there, and I can add it as a hot button directly to pop it into a collection or add it to my meal plan. Or I might want to go through and read that recipe. And what's really cool about this is you can view it the same way you do on your Thermomix. So Kate showed how this works directly on the Thermomix screen at the start with the brown onions, and you can view it here, including things like the tips. And I'm looking at all of these ingredients thinking, you know what, that's a bit much for me for tonight, but I definitely want to try it at some point. So I'm going to add this to a collection. Now I've got a whole bunch of collections here, kind of similar to your Spotify playlists or your iTunes playlists, depending on your device, right? And what I've got here is a whole bunch of different categories. And I've got one that's my dumping grounds. I chuck everything in my to try if I haven't tried it. Once I've tried it and it's good, it makes it into the other categories. So I'm going to pop this in my to try. And I made the comment about a week ago, I think. That's my equivalent, that little to try, of ripping a recipe page out of a magazine at the doctor's surgery, which is what I used to do. Now I've got cookie dough to save them. So I could go to my recipes now and have a look at the different things that I've saved. And Anzac Day is coming up. These are some of my favorite Anzac Day baking things. But we could go down and see things like categories I've made all in one. So when I don't want to use any other thing and I don't want to use the oven or anything, have a no-brainer meal, I'll come here. If I want something that I know freezes and defrosts and reheats well, then I'll come to my freezer-friendly section. But what we can see is my to try section now has a whole bunch of recipes, including that one I just saved. So if we scoot across now to my week, you can actually meal plan based on this as well. And you can see what I've planned out for the next few days. I've actually got nothing on Sunday and Monday because we ate freezer food on those days. My freezer does get refilled quite well. But what I might do is go, do you know what? I actually need to shop for this one. So I'm going to add it to my shopping list. Now, all of these recipes are available directly on your screen. And in addition to that, if I want to go to this shopping list, I can actually check off things that I've already got in the cupboard. So yes, I have a bit of wine. I definitely have water. I've got some butter. I don't have the beef cheeks. I have heaps of veggie oil. And I don't have beef stock paste, interesting, but I do have veggie stock paste. I'm happy to substitute that. I don't need pepper or salt. I actually do need vanilla. I need baby carrots. I need more onion. I've got the larger carrots and I think I've got some celery. I definitely need thyme and I'll just put one thyme on there. I have garlic. I need leek, I need the onions, and I am probably going to make some brioche, to be honest. So there you go. I've marked off things and I'm left with my shopping list. And what's really cool is it's already set up in the categories for me and I can add extra things on there. Something we always need in my house. So all of my lists pretty much end up having that. And I can actually automatically order my ingredients and send it straight to Woolworths online. So that's a really cool thing to do. You can literally have it linked directly to send to your Woolworths online, which is really cool. I won't click it because it's going to bring up all my personal details. But you also have an additional thing there. Now, this is one of my favorite things to use because better than Woolworths online is hubby's on his way home from work. I'm going to send him a shopping list to grab on the way home. And that's what my share option would be. You could also print this list if you want. Just letting you know, don't practice this one. I was training a group of people on how to use cookie dough once. I added a whole bunch of cocktails to my list and I sent it to my husband, who unbeknownst to me was at Woolworths and calls me and says, do we really need that much gin and vodka? So just check your surroundings first. So that's a really brief look at the my recipes and my week. And you definitely can do other things like explore and have a look at blogs. You can have a look at all sorts of information really, including recipes and using your own recipes and how to get them on your Thermomix screen with Cookie Dough 3.0. So what I would recommend for that is something we've just really scraped on the surface for a matter of time tonight. But having your own cooking experience, we can cater that or your delivery to actually suit Cookie Dough and actually set you up and make sure that you really understand, because it's actually incredible the amount of opportunity that you have in there to be able to make and streamline your household and how it works when it comes to mealtime. So we can certainly cater and personalize it for you. So I'm going to kick over to, I forgot to mention, so Cookie Dough is actually one of the things that we do receive as incentive. So it's something that for our consultants, we actually do get access to your 1-year subscription each year as consultants. There is something coming up soon. So Cookie Dough 3.0 is the ability to be able to not only customize, but there's a really great feature that's going to be coming out soon where you will also be able to take those existing recipes and you'll be able to double them or scale them. So scale them up or scale them down. And that's going to be accessible to our Cookie Dough 3.0 customers. So if you do want to take up the 3.0 offer and you haven't yet renewed on your Cookie Dough, if you do have it, that's going to be what it opens up for you, is a whole new world of other features that Cookie Dough will link to your Thermomix. All right, I'm going to kick over to Kate now, but if you've got any questions, feel free to keep popping them in the chat. Or is it Kate or is it Vic? Vic?
Either. I can finish off if Kate's not ready, but.
You go, Vic, you finish your bread.
All right, I'm almost done because my dough is ready. It's beautiful and kneaded. So all I have to do is just wiggle the base of my blades and that will loosen the dough and it will just fall out, which is very cool. As I mentioned, when I'm making the buttermilk from our buttermilk from the butter, it can be quite sticky. So sticky bread makes the best bread. So I don't want to add too much extra flour if I can help it. But just a little bit of olive oil on your hands can help it from preventing it from sticking to your hands. And what I want to do is just roll that dough into a little ball, and it's nice and warm because we warmed up that buttermilk earlier in the machine. And I'm just going to wrap it up in this beautiful bread mat. Now this is a host reward for those that are able to have a cooking experience or a virtual cooking experience, or perhaps you've invited somebody to join you this evening. I'm going to wrap that up just for a little bit, probably about 15, depends on how hot it is, but 15 minutes to 30 minutes until it's sort of increased in size. And then we're going to start playing with it, and you can make it into any shape that you like. So in the meantime, I'm going to fill up my bowl just with about 1 litre of water. So there's a little marker on the inside of your bowl. So I fill that up. I pop a drip of dishwashing liquid on in there. This is my favorite. Pop the lid back on. And then I already know about all the information, but if I, at this point, if I wanted to, I can go into the little dots on the screen of my machine and go into recipe detail. And then I can have a quick squiz at all the rest of the instructions of what I need to do. I can then just push home and then access my pre-clean function. Now, the pre-clean has 4 different modes. I'm going to just select the dough mode, which is a lower temperature, about 37 degrees. And that's just going to give my bowl a nice little wash. So
beautiful.
I know, I love this. I love that.
I love it. People used to say, it doesn't clean itself? Well,
Yeah.
guess what? It can.
It does now.
Marina's just asked if the blades need to be sharpened. They don't. So it's quite interesting because over the years we've heard different sort of opinions on it, but basically the power of that motor is what's going to give you that cut in your food. It's actually not how sharp those blades are, although they are incredibly sharp. So they don't need to be sharpened or maintained in that way. So actually, I want to point out too, Vic has used the Thermomix baking mat, which is one of our host rewards. It's got some fibers in it that actually help to warm and help to prove your dough. So it's not just a silicone mat. And that's actually, that along with the thermo server, the 2.6 litre, is actually included in our Thermomix business kit as well. So if that's something you're interested in, we'd love to have a chat to you about that. That would be just the start of what you can get. But I am going to kick over now to Kate. Kate, I'm pretty sure in that time your onions are done. I'll bring you on in.
So my onions I've deglazed the bowl, and it's actually still got I've made my cup of tea and drank it. And it's still got a minute go, but what I thought I would show you on this Thermomix is how easily you can make some pantry staples. So we're going to make a really quick cooked mayonnaise, and this one's just from your basic cookbook. Your basic cookbook does come with the with your Thermomix in a hard copy, and it's full of really useful information. So if you haven't opened it and flicked through, I really recommend that you do it. At the beginning of that book is all about stocking your pantry and some pantry staples. And I love doing that because you're knowing exactly what's in the meal and the food that you're eating. So we're doing cooked mayonnaise. Now, I personally haven't made this one. I've made some other mayonnaise recipes. But what I wanted to show you is you can use your Thermomix as just electronic scales by popping a jug on, and then you can weigh anything. And you can do that even if your Thermomix is if you're using it. So as long as the speed is less than 2, you can do this. I've already done it. I've already weighed out my grapeseed oil. And I like to use grapeseed oil or a really light flavoured olive oil in this mayonnaise recipe, just because it gives you a lighter taste. And then you just set the jug aside. That's the other one, saying my onions are ready. If you ever want to, you can change the sound and the duration of your Thermomix as well. So if you do go into settings, I can show you if anybody's interested. You can change the melody, you can change the volume, and you can change the duration. The Thermomix does turn itself off after 15 minutes of inactivity anyway, which is a power saving function. So what it's asking for, we'll go back to the mayo and I'll show you the onions shortly. It's just asking for a teaspoon of salt. So I've just measured out a teaspoon. I'll pop that one in. And it's asking for 30 grams of white vinegar. You can see that the scales have come up. Again, I've already 29. I reckon that's close enough. Now it's asking us to pop the lid measuring cup on. So I'm going to put that back in. And then it's going to cook that for 3 minutes on 100 degrees on speed 1. So if you see, it's kind of greened out. So you just go straight to speed 1. You can alter it. You can go faster or slower. You are still in charge. It's just guided cooking. So while that's cooking, I'll just go back to this one and let's have a look at the onions. I also just wanted to point out, you'll notice that there's another safety feature. These little red lights come on after the bowl goes over 60 degrees. So you can just teach, if you've got little kids around, just teach them not to touch the bowl. And then our onions are done. So let's see what they look like. Smell is amazing. So I've just got a little bowl to pop them in. Again, I'm holding the bowl just as Victoria suggested, just holding at the base. I've been cooking with a Thermomix for about 10 years, and it took me about 8 to realise that the Germans think of everything, and it's so much more ergonomic by holding it there. But yeah, here we go, is my caramelised onions. So as you can see, I can just imagine that sprinkled on top of Vic's bread, like a focaccia or something. Or even just on, when it's cooled down, you can even use it on a cheese platter. There's another really gorgeous recipe that's quite similar. I know Victoria makes it all the time. It's a red onion chutney, and that's beautiful for Christmas gifts or gifts at Christmas time. So that's really lovely. So you could put that on anything. One of my consultants, one of her favourite recipes, and she just has it, children request it all the time, and she just has it on the fridge and she puts it on hot dogs or burgers or whatever. It's all ready to go. And later on, I'm just going to put that on the browning pre-clean with a little bit of vinegar, and you'll get the brown out of the bottom. So this one over here has still got just a minute to go. What we can talk about is some of the different modes. So we spoke about the scales. You've seen the dough mode with Victoria doing her bread. The turbo mode is just like the, it's on previous Thermomixes. It's like a pulse on your food processor. So imagine breadcrumbs or milling your own, like making almond meal and all sorts of things. You can even mince meat with the turbo mode. Pre-clean, you've seen. Blend, think smoothies in the morning or beautiful creamy soups. You can do that in the blend mode. The egg boiler mode does exactly that. 2 to 6 eggs directly in the bowl. You just choose how you like your eggs. And the Thermomix will do them perfect every time. The little trick from that though is make sure you've got cold eggs. All Thermomix recipes, they usually use the 700 to 800 gram eggs, cold eggs, and then take them out and put them directly under cold water to stop the cooking process. You can see that I was in a different part of the Thermomix and it's just dinged and brought me back to where I needed to be directly in the recipe. So there's no flicking through books and everything. I love Cookadoo. So in a small bowl, crack 2 eggs. Thank you, I've done that. And then it's going to say turn the speed selector to 3 and meanwhile follow the next step. So mysterious. So now it's just going to say add the reserved eggs through the hole in the lid. And then in they go. I'm going to press next. Oh, okay. And then it's going to ask me to emulsify the oil that I had already put in a little jar. So it says put this one, the lid back on, the measuring cup back on, and then over a minute and minute 30, turn the speed to 6 this time and follow the next step. Very slowly pour the oil in. The lid has actually got a bit of a lip, so I just pour it up to the top of the lip and it will emulsify that for me.
So this is one of the things that you can't see at the moment just because of the angle is, as Kate said, there is a little bit of movement in that lid, so it actually allows it to slowly drizzle through. That can be really, really handy as well. With little things like if you're ever juicing a lemon and you want to add it in to make sure no extra pips get in, because that will actually catch your pips as well. But what it's doing now, Kate can take the no-brainer approach of it and pour in the ingredients that she knows fit, and it's slowly going to drizzle it through, so she doesn't have to worry about pouring it too quick, which is a fantastic feature there as well. So I can't see how much time we've got left on that. I think that'll still have a little bit. It might be in the
I use the little hole in the that you were talking about to separate my eggs as well.
Yes, it's actually, I would encourage that over a bowl though, just in case, like if you're making a pavlova. You don't want anything to skip, but it's really, really handy for people, you know, especially if you're trying to let kids, you know, separate the eggs or do something like that, then you're using the lid, getting them to crack it into the lid and it catches the yolk is really cool. Oh my God, look at the creaminess.
I know, look at that.
How nice is that?
So much quicker than the other way of making mayonnaise. I don't know why I hadn't done that sooner, to be honest.
Oh my gosh, it's my favorite.
So you don't have to worry about, and you can flavour that and make different combinations for your aioli, can't you?
Yes, there is, even on the bottom of the recipe, remember how I said there was little tips and tricks? There is recipe for garlic bun and also mustard one. So there is another little trick. If you don't have a little funnel like this, you can usually the lid of your Thermomix, the lid kind of can fit.
That's my favourite when you're already washing it. So if you're someone who doesn't like to add extra dishes in, then that's a really handy way to do it. Yeah.
Exactly. And you just pop it in the jar. And this one will last for about 2 weeks, I believe, in the fridge.
Yeah.
But I don't want
to
put it all in the jar because I'm going to be making coleslaw. And by making the coleslaw after you do the mayonnaise, you save dishes, and you're kind of getting the dressing on the coleslaw as you chop all the veggies and save time. It's great.
It's so thick and creamy. You can even see it through the screen. It looks amazing.
I know, look at it. Great. I'm going to have to bookmark that one. Okay. Next thing, I am making some coleslaw tonight because I made some pulled pork today. It was like a slow cook 4-hour thing. So we're going to have, the kids had some pulled pork sliders, and from our dinner, we're going to have coleslaw with the pulled pork. So with this mayo.
So can I just point out, do you mind if I get you to just show us how you access that? So in Cookie-Doo, when I was talking to you about my week, I think I saw Kate just access through my week. Is that right?
I did. So those 3 little lines on your home screen will bring up a new menu, and you can get to your recipes. You can get to my week. So my recipes, if you've created your own little playlist that Jenny was just talking about, or your own little cookbooks, whatever you've named them, you can get them, and your created recipes, you can get through to my recipes. My week is if you're a menu planner, you can get all of the ones, and I actually really like doing this. I can do this while I'm waiting for the girls in Kiss and Drive, and if I come home late, sometimes the dinner's cooked for me because I have all the ingredients in the fridge and it's sitting there on the Thermomix. So my hubby doesn't even have to ask. He just can see what needs to be cooked that day. And occasionally the girls do it as well. As long as they can read, they can use a Thermomix, which is one of the reasons I upgraded. Also recently cooked, you saw that on Jenny's Cookie-Doo, but you can also see that directly on the Thermomix. Your settings is where you access all of those noises, or transportation mode if you do like to take your Thermomix camping or away with you, and also if you need help. But I'm just going into my week because I do like to menu plan, and I'm going to go access the coleslaw. So exactly the same. It's you find it directly on your screen as all the other ones. Now this one is asking for carrots, 100 grams of carrots, and you don't have to chop them up really finely, as long as they fit through the lid, the hole in your lid. That will be, that's enough, small enough. 1 green apple, I've just chopped that up. If you don't have these things, you could substitute. So imagine you could put celery or something like that in instead of the apple. I'm not going to put the onion in because my girls won't eat it if I do. And 200 grams of cabbage. So I've got a mix of green and the purple cabbage. And a little bit of pinch of salt to taste. And some pepper. Again, I often do the seasoning, we season at the end, because if there's even a hint of chili or a pepper, the girls won't eat it. So 2 tablespoons of mayonnaise. I think I've got about that in there. And made a bit of a mess, but hang on. And then through the other thing I love about the Thermomix, now it's got videos on screen for something. So if you don't know what to do, you just press a little button and it'll go, oh, that's what that means. So, oh, it's not playing at the minute, but normally
I think there's an upgrade happening, and so you might, yep.
Cool. So as it's doing, you just get your dirty one full of mayonnaise, which is great. And then just for 2 seconds on speed 4, and what we're going to do, you don't need a video because you've got me. I'm just going to turn the handle, like stir it, and basically it's just trying to get those vegetables down to the blades. So I'm just going to turn it to 4. Sorry if you can't hear me.
So while Kate's doing that, other things that you might use that function of popping that spatula in would be things like your sorbet or something where it's really hard and you want to try and make sure that you're pushing it straight back down to catch under those blades. There's not a great deal of recipes that you do that with, but learn from my mistakes. Only use the Thermomix spatula for that job. It is incredibly powerful blades. And it will suction anything else in. So just use your Thermomix spatula with that little lid on it. How's that looking, Kate?
Well, you do it to taste. So this is quite a chunky coleslaw, but I quite like it quite chunky. So that's the way. But that was literally 2 seconds. Well, 2 seconds and a 2 seconds, so 5 seconds. And what you're doing by turning it, actually there is a little bit of a bigger one. I might do it an extra chop before I take it out. But by putting you don't have to worry about putting a spatula in because it's got that catch guard. So you're not going to touch the blade. So you don't have to worry. And you're just turning it and you just chop it to your liking. So if you like it really, really chunky, you can leave it like that. But the difference between chunky and fine or pureed is a matter of seconds, so just be careful.
Awesome.
Coleslaw. So you don't have to buy those packet salads anymore because they go off quite quickly. You can have nice fresh produce, and then whatever you've got left over, you just search on Cookadoo to see what you can use up, and then you can cook from your pantry, which I love to do, weirdly.
Weirdly, I think that's all the rage at the moment. Very on point. Actually, cooking from your pantry, I'm really excited. If you can all keep a secret, there's a new cookbook that's going to be coming out soon. So for all your Cookadoo, every time a cookbook is released, it will automatically be added to your Cookadoo so that you can access it. There's actually a really fantastic book that's going to be launching very soon, and I've already got it early, one of the consultant perks. But I did want to also share just a little bit. We're going to kick back over to Vic in a moment, who I believe is going to shape her bread and show us what the end result looks like. But I do want to share before we go, we have talked about some of the different mix shop products that you guys can get, and the fantastic potato peeler, which I don't think we've actually talked. It's not just potatoes, it's a blade cover and peeler. Now, it is an accessory that doesn't come standard with the Thermomix, but it is on offer as a host reward. It is for a limited time, and it's only running until the end of this month. So you guys have got a little bit of time to go still. And basically, it's got a peeler function, which just unlocks a whole new ball game when it comes to convenience in the kitchen. Just the pure fact that you can pop things in to peel and not have to worry about it. An example of that is we actually did a bit of a test at our one of our meetings recently, where we had a whole bunch of the team leaders doing different things to trial that peeler. We had eggs going. Actually, Vic, I wonder do you remember how long that took for your eggs? You had your eggs peeling in a matter of seconds.
I think it was about 20 seconds. I've got the peeler here too. I don't know if you can see it.
There you go. I'll add you into the spotlight. I might need to, there you go, add spotlight. So that peeler is also a blade cover. So when you want to do things like your slow cooking, even if you wanted to do, say, meatballs recipe where you want to cook it in the sauce and obviously not have your meatballs fall apart, you could pop that in. If you're ever making a curry and you want to try and use bone-on chicken, that kind of thing, you can use it. So it's a really handy accessory in your kitchen that is available as a host reward. And also, it's really worth noting, a lot of these accessories that we've shown you, they're not staged as much as they are things that we genuinely use in our homes, and you guys can get a discount for them for hosting a cooking experience after you have purchased. So you actually get a 20% off. Is it a 20% off voucher for your cooking experience?
Yes,
that comes with it. And one of the big reasons we do that for you is because we know that the cooking experience is the best place for you to really get the value out of the Thermomix you've already invested in, by us being able to tailor it to make sure you get the most out of it. So with that said, and also we'd love, if you want to find out more about joining our team, feel free to send me either a private message or pop it in the chat. I want to know more. We'd love to have a chat to you about the business and all that we can offer. We're a fun bunch of gals. I rate us, but we'd love the chance to have a chat to you about it as well. And it's a really fantastic time to be joining the team. All right, I'm going to kick over to Vic, and I'll let you show us what you have created and how do we get that into a beautiful bread from now.
Okay. We're almost at the end. So thanks for bearing with us. I hope you've learned heaps of new tips and tricks. Bread needs to, when you're making a bread, your dough needs to prove twice. So having it sit in that beautiful little wrapped up bed in your thermoserver has been the first proof. The second proof needs to be the shape that you're wanting to get. So there's a couple of options. I've used this beautiful bread tin, which is just amazing quality. You don't even have to oil it or wash it. The bread just comes out. You've got the option of using a lid to make it like a flat loaf. But how I've done here's something I prepared earlier trick, it was just simply to leave the lid off. I'm just going to put a little bit of oil on my hands. This is a beautiful sticky dough. It's going to make amazing bread. And yeah, just a reminder that olive oil will just prevent it from sticking to your hands. So how I made it into my loaf was I just simply rolled it out, and these mats are amazing because they're non-stick. I just separated it into 3 roughly the same size balls. This is just a very quick demonstration of it. But then you just simply pop it into your bread tin like this. And you
this
can
is
be
going to come
messy.
out looking like the high loaves breads that you buy, is that right?
That's it, yeah. And so
High
you just
loaf?
try and
High top?
for something like that. And it just sort of seems to rise like evenly when you do it like that. So it'll sit in your bread tin like that, and it will slowly rise. And what you want to do is just leave it in the position that you want it to be in until it's doubled in size or got to the sort of size that you're wanting to have it at. The other option that you can do, which is the trick that I do in the mornings, I actually, once it's in that shape, I stick it into a cold oven, and it will do its second proof. It's not, the quality isn't as good as doing a slow proof, but when you're in a hurry and you want some fresh bread, you can put it into that cold oven, and it will rise as the oven heats up. But the ideal way is just to do a slower rise and then pop it into a hot oven. The other thing that you can do is either use one of these beautiful oven mats, or we've got a beautiful rose gold set, which you can use to make some bread rolls or scrolls, and these are also amazing quality. Actually, these they're consultant rewards this month, aren't they, Jenny? Those rose gold ones.
So as exciting. A consultant, we like to give you lots of freebies and incentives along the way. And they're a set, as well as, I think, Kate, you used the kitchen toolkit earlier. That's actually one of our offers as well, isn't it? I'm just going to see if I can find it.
And it's a brilliant little set. You have to be really careful though, because the quality is really good, and those the knives are little, but boy, are they powerful. I have almost taken my finger off a couple of times, and they're teeny. They are really sharp, and I've never had to sharpen them. Whereas other knives, I need to sharpen all the time. And I think
they're pretty amazing.
Yeah, so they're not having to go back in again either.
Liners that fit them as well. So the one that Vic showed you can get as a host reward, the oven mat and the bread mat, but you can get liners that fit the rose gold trays perfectly as well, and they've got little round circles. So if you like to make cookies or macarons or things like that, macaroons, they've already got the circles pre-made on them, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, awesome. All right, and I can see that you're already shaping yours out in. So making bread rolls is one of them. What's your pre-prepared look like?
Oh yeah, I forgot. I almost forgot. I was so excited about making my bread rolls.
I know, you're in the zone.
Here's something I prepared earlier.
Oh, that's beautiful.
So that was just showing you how I demonstrate it. Can't wait to cut it open and have some fresh bread. It is, yeah, it's beautiful, and it just rose just perfectly. It looks like it's bought.
Yeah, it looks like it's from Baker's Delight. It'll probably cost you $7. Nothing.
I know, right?
Yeah, for a fraction. You also got some butter out of that, didn't you?
To butter.
Yes. I can't wait to make hot crust buns, actually, because I went to buy some the other day from the bakery, and they were $8.50. My goodness.
Yeah. Yeah,
I
and
love
I'm
then
such a,
making your own hot cross buns are incredible.
oh, I can't wait.
On the day though.
Yeah, Rachel, you don't have to. It depends on your oil that you use as well on your trays. There are liners that, so for example, our incentives that we've got this month, there's actually liners they sell on the mix shop that fit perfectly into each of those oven trays. I'm assuming that's what you mean, Rachel. So sorry if I've got you wrong. Yeah. And it's kind of the same, like when you're making your cheese puffs, if you were to use there you go. Kate's got that. Sorry, Kate, I'll let you flash it for everyone again. That's actually one of my favorite things as well, the little circles. If you're ever making cookies, macarons, or whatever you're doing, if you're shaping them out and trying to separate them nicely, that's actually really handy, those guides, just as the Thermomix baking mat has the ring guides, which is amazing when you're rolling out and making breads or your pizzas and that kind of thing and trying to get consistent. So when you are, those rose gold trays are covered, so you don't necessarily need to use them, but it depends if it's going to be something that stains it. You know, when you cook with some things, they leave a mark as they bake. You might want to use your liner then. How nice does that bread look? Look at you guys, like little magazine style. So yeah,
I forgot that you were watching me.
Yeah,
I was gonna hold
something I just whipped up. I am just going to add my little noggin in here, and then that brings us to the end, unless there's a surprise dish that I forgot that we're going to cook. That brings us to the end of the session tonight. And I would love to, if you guys have grabbed something from tonight, please do share it in the chat box. If there's any questions that you would like us to answer, we're more than happy to do so. And again, if you'd like to find out more about joining the team, either have a chat to the consultant that invited you along tonight, or stay on, send us a message. We'd love to have a chat to you about joining our team. I do want to point out for anyone that is having a look at that black Thermomix, we have reached about halfway of our stock. So if you are wanting to take up the offer, I suggest that potentially you look at it sooner rather than later, and we'd love to let you know more if you want more information on it. All right, thanks so much, guys. Oh, Rachel's going to go look up the butter holder. So that's a Butterbell.
Butterbell.
And
So
it is
cute.
amazing. Yep, so we're going to have, no worries. Thanks so much for joining us tonight. I'm just going to stop that recording actually. Cheers.